everybody. It is the first Tuesday in March, and that means that we are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, www.welikesportspc.com proudly presents to you its podcast Tag Team Champions of the World, the Cleat Geek, Mike Valentine, Moneybags, Mitch Middlebrooks, and we are the 6, 4, 3, and out guys. Before we get too far, Mitch, I know we're going to talk about a lot of spring training because we were at a game together yesterday, but what do you say we do, just like all the guys yesterday did, the walk-up music?
Are you ready? 20 seconds start now. Ten seconds remaining. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, look at that. We're already live. I've already got comments. TC is cranking along with us. That's right, buddy. We are live. All right. So today we're going to do spring training, and some more spring training. That's what we're going to do today, buddy. All right. The Deebo Samuel trade, we'll talk about that. The franchise tag in the NFL, we'll talk about that. Spring training ticket prices, parking, and concessions. We'll talk about, are they pricing themselves out of the market? Mitch and I will discuss. The Dallas Cowboys, CeeDee Lamb, and Micah Parsons. They've all kind of done something. They're all correlated together, and we'll talk about that as well. Insulting. Is it insulting when at a spring training game you look at the back of a jersey, you don't see the guy's name, but you do see his number? We'll talk about that. Our favorite parts of spring training. Again, it'll be spring training, and more spring training. We'll talk about Cam Scattaboo, Cameron Ward, Emeka Ibuka, Sam Darnold, Mike Moustakas, and Terry Francona, just to mention a few. We will do the backfield betting line. We'll do spring training stats. We'll talk about the batting practice betting line, and we'll do the NFL Combine for Dummies with our special guest who'll be on with us here in just a moment. Cheese. That's right. Cheese. Like you're going to take a picture. All right. So, Mitch, again, I know you and I spent last night together. Hey, guys, get your mind out of the gutter. We were at a baseball game. So how you been since last night, buddy?
Good. Can't complain. Long day at work, but yeah, ready. Happy to be here.
Right, the poor guy. You had to work a whole day today, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
couldn't take any personal time. Couldn't take any leave. Couldn't go to any ball games today. Deck gone, man. Must have been rough.
Tomorrow, it's tough to get through.
Right, and then, but once you get through tomorrow, though, then Thursday night, you and I will be doing that again. So you get to be a privileged guy and hang out with me.
Yeah, it's a nice week for spring training. I'll make it to a game every day, but this week. So,
well, we wanted you to be on the show. So can't have everything.
Yeah.
All right. Well, speaking of having everything, today Mitch and I are going to have our cake and eat it too, because we are going to talk all kinds of spring training here in just a little bit. But first, we're going to bring on our special guest. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let me introduce to you, Cheese. Cheese, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Man, we're doing great. I'm going to speak for Mitch and say we're doing great. Mitch, go ahead and tell him how you're doing.
Yeah, good. Glad to have you, Cheese.
Mitch, you are rocking that mustache, man. I cannot grow a mustache like that. I tried.
Thanks, boss. It took me a while, but I think it's here to stay. So yeah,
It works for you, man.
appreciate it.
That's not really up to you, though. That's up to that lady of yours, right? If it's here to stay or not. Come on, let's
Yeah,
all be real
I
here.
really don't have a say in it anymore at this point. So
All right. Cheese, tell us where our listeners can find you on YouTube, buddy.
Yeah, I have a channel. It's called Football with Cheese. You can see it there on the screen. We talk all things football. It's all about football, college, pro, draft. Big focus on the NFL draft. So yeah, subscribe.
Subscribe, hit that little, what is it, the little bell, right?
The
You say it
bell,
all the
yes.
time?
So you get alerts because you never breaking news. You never know when I could go video. You never know.
Well, I believe what you mean is you never know when you could go live. That's what I think.
I haven't
All right.
gone live yet, but I should. I should go live more.
Maybe. I mean, I don't know. I like the live aspect, especially when Mitch screws up. So we're good.
Oh, I'm going to screw up probably too.
That's all right, buddy. It's fine.
Just be aware.
don't worry, we'll lead the way. So,
Right? The people who listen to this podcast have already seen us do it several times, so we're okay, man. Don't worry about it.
Mitch is setting the expectations. All right.
you got to
All right.
keep them low, and then you can exceed them.
There
Right,
you go.
right? You don't start off, what did they say? You don't fire your best bullet first, right? Yeah. So, all right. Well, Glenda, we appreciate that. She likes herself some cheese there, man. She's saying go cheese. So we got that good. All right. We're going to go back and forth, and we're really going to hammer home the NFL draft. And I kind of dubbed this thing NFL. I'm sorry, not draft, the NFL Combine. And I kind of dubbed this thing NFL Combine for Dummies. Now, I'm not calling all of y'all dummies. Maybe one person on the screen, but not the rest of you. All right. So, but I don't know a lot about the Combine. I tried to watch it. I'm not going to say it was boring, but I was like, man, I got other stuff I need to do. So I would turn it away. I would do some other stuff. We're just getting all kinds of comments here. Look at this. Some crazy guy named Cheese comes on in the comment section just for me. So, like I say, we are going to talk mostly about the NFL Combine here with Cheese. We're going to ask him a lot of questions, our Mitch and I, and then he's going to give us some great answers, and then I believe he's going to try to stick around. Cheese, you can try to stick around for the other football segment as well after this.
Sure, I can stick around.
Right. Look at this, man! Cheese, and more cheese. Like a fiesta around here. So we're going to be good to go. All right, let's jump in, Cheese. What percentage of the draft decisions do you think are made because of the NFL Combine workouts?
I think it's important. I think the film is the most important thing. So here's what the Combine is, okay?
Mm-hmm.
It's reinforcing what we already know, their workouts, okay? We want to make sure that the film matches up to the athleticism, the workouts.
Okay.
We want to see what their height is, what their weight is, if they're in shape. We want to give them a physical. We want to see if there's anything we find that could be a red flag. For example, maybe the team doctor says, he's had that back surgery in the past. He might not make it more than 4 years in the league. So just keep that in mind. So you want to see if they're healthy. Yeah, there are players that are injured, missed part of the season. You want to see how far along they are in the rehab. So you want information. It's about information gathering. But the main thing is with the workouts, I want to see if this guy is as athletic as he looks like on the field. And I want to know if he works out more athletic than he showed on the field. Well, let me go back to the film. What's going on here? And if he has a bad workout, that's telling. That's a bad sign that maybe he's not the prospect we were. But anytime and also just matching it up is, you want to see if, it matches exactly what you think. I think this guy's about a 4.40. Oh, he is good. So it's all about information gathering.
Yeah. All right. And then sometimes it's confirming information, right?
Exactly. Yes. Sometimes players are listed at 6'3" and they're 6'1.5". You want to see what their height. You want to see if, for example, Senior Bowl was about a month ago. Maybe these teams ask the player, you're carrying a little extra weight, lose 10 pounds, and you want to see if they do. You want to see how hard they work out. If someone has a really bad combine, but you expect them to do better, well, maybe they don't have good off-season conditioning, and that's important. You want them to show up to camp in shape. Okay. So it's a lot of information, and it's interviews too. And you want to find out who this person is because he's going to be on your football team in your locker room. So you need to know as much about him as possible. So the interview segment's very important.
Right. So we got full physicals, we got interviews, we got measurements, you got intelligence tests, and you got workouts. But all we really see on like the NFL Network are the workouts. So, Cheese, I'll ask you, do you think we'll ever see more than just the workout? Do you think we'll ever get like a behind the scenes, like an NFL hard knocks thing for the NFL Combine?
Probably not. You're definitely not going to see the interviews because they get really personal because they want to know everything about you, your character. And some of these guys have had off-field incidents, and they ask them about them. They'll ask about their background, ask them about their parents, what their parents do for a living. And some people come from really rough backgrounds. You might see some kind of show, but based on maybe one individual, like we go through the off-season, one individual, but I don't think we'll ever see like a full like combine hard knocks.
All right, there we go. It didn't take us too long to get up to double digits. Mitch, I know you want to talk to Cheese about the different drills, so I'll let you take it over, buddy. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. Honestly, I'm not really a combine guy. I just catch the clips afterwards. I do want to get your take on, kind of what you're saying about how much it can affect or will affect draft stock. And what you think, I don't know if you saw Will Howard's workout. I just saw some clips of it. It looked pretty bad. It looked pretty rough. And I think Will Howard was a guy that it probably relies on the combine more than others. A guy that, doesn't have the greatest tape, but also there's some things there that show you signs of life that maybe you take the chance on. How much of an impact do you think a poor workout like Will Howard has really affects, what teams are thinking on him?
Well, as far as the quarterback goes, it doesn't help when you don't throw well, but I don't think it affects too much because I care more about what happened on the field. You're working with receivers you've never thrown to before, and you're in T-shirt and shorts. Will Howard, it was bad. It was really bad. I don't know why. Maybe he was nervous. See, Peyton Manning didn't have a great pro day. Yeah. He didn't throw well at his pro day, so that didn't affect him. Now, Will Howard's not Peyton Manning, but I'm not too worried about the quarterbacks. The film is what matters. I would care more about the testing. The intelligence test with the quarterback and the interviews more so than on-field throwing, but it certainly doesn't help him. But Jackson Dart looked good in that drill.
Yep.
From Ole Miss.
Agreed. Those are the two clips that I saw, and it was kind of night and day between those two guys. So, yeah, agreed. So kind of learning more about each drill. We'll just kind of run through some drills, and I honestly need to learn more about them and what they actually do. So we all know the 40-yard dash, obviously, it's a big measurement, and that's what you hear for most skill position players. But how important actually is it for these players, and the difference between 4.4, 4.5, 4.6, 4.3, how much do you think each team is weighing that, and especially running back, wide receiver positions?
The 40 time to me is not the most important drill. It's the most talked about, so I think it's the most overhyped. I don't really care how offensive lineman runs 40 yards downfield because he's never going to have to. Okay, the actual importance depends on the position. Like you said, okay, let's just take wide receiver, for example. If you have a deep threat, wide receiver. He's your deep threat. I care about the 40. It's really important how fast he can run 40 yards downfield, especially the last 20 yards, because that's when he's picking up speed.
Yeah.
If you have a slot receiver or more of a possession receiver, I care about the first maybe 10 yards because you want him to get open quickly. You want him to get open as fast as possible. So the 10-yard split is more important. A running back, I care probably more about the first 20 yards because you want to know how a running back, once they hit the hole, what they do after that. You want them to hit the hole 10, 15 yards and then hit top speed. Mm-hmm. So the middle part of the 40 is probably more important. I know it's great if your running back has speed. If he's a 4.40, you'd love that. But I care more about the 20-yard split with a running back. If your running back runs a 4.6, but he has a really good 10-yard split, then I don't care. Maybe he gets caught. But how many times does a running back have an opportunity to run 40 yards downfield? Once, maybe twice a game. Yeah. So if he's caught, he still has a 40-yard run. So it's really important more for wide receivers, tight ends, and defensive backs. And like I said, wide receivers and tight ends, they can stretch the field with speed. And defensive backs have to run with them, so they have to be fast as well. So,
yeah, agreed. I think especially the full 40. You're really only looking at that if it is your deep threat wide receiver. So yeah, I agree. The rest you're kind of taking subsets of it. Similarly, the vertical jump. That's something we see running backs spend a lot of time and attention on. Why do you think that is?
Well, vertical jump, basically you're flat-footed, you're jumping straight up in the air. And so it measures explosiveness. So as far as running back goes, you want to be explosive in the hole. So a vertical is very important for a running back. I want an explosive running back. Like I said, he doesn't have to be the fastest, but he's got to be explosive because those holes, they might look big, but they can fill up in a heartbeat. So I want an explosive running back. It's like I said, it's just like the 40 wide receiver, defensive back, tight end. Also, you want them to be explosive. So that's the positions I'm looking at with the vertical.
Yep. And is that similar to why offensive line might be so focused and concerned with the broad jump, just kind of that explosiveness and what they're looking for there?
Yeah, you want them to. It's more about explosive strength, the broad jump. So you want them to set an anchor. You want them to have very strong lower half because they have to, especially pass protection. You have to set an anchor. You cannot get pushed back. And if you have a strong lower half, then you can set an anchor and it's harder to bull rush you and push you back. So broad jump, very important for offensive line. And running back, the jumps are really important for running backs. You want them to have strong lower half and break tackles. And edge rusher, I mentioned that. Every single drill is important for edge rusher. Every single one. So you want them to be explosive as well, lower body explosiveness for an edge rusher.
Yeah, makes sense. A 3-cone drill in that 20-yard shuttle. First off, who would you say that's most important for and why?
3-cone, probably defensive back and edge rusher, because it's how quickly you can change direction. And when you're on defense, you're kind of reacting. Defensive backs, you're reacting to what the offense does. Yeah. A lot of times you're running backwards. So when wide receivers, especially great route runners, they're cutting left and right, you've got to be able to turn your hips and react. And, edge rushers, like I said, pass rush moves, you have to be able to change direction as quickly as possible. And so I'm looking at that. And as far as the shuttle goes, it's very important for edge rusher because it's about body control. If you don't have good body control as you change direction, then you could fall down. You could be sloppy. You could miss the tackle. You could overrun it. So those agility drills to me are the two most important drills for defense, especially for edge rusher at the combine.
Yeah, agreed. I think, the change of direction and the reaction time that all those kind of show is so huge for defense because you're, in pursuit and and you always got to adjust to what the offense is trying to do for you. So yeah, agreed. One I've been really intrigued with is the bench press and all the things that kind of go into the metrics of this, and what a good score for each position is. How do you view the bench press, and what are you really looking for from each group that you see?
Yeah, so the bench press, I'm really looking to make sure they're not really bad at it, basically. I want to make sure they're at least decent at it. It shows you have a good work ethic.
A bench press before.
What'd you say?
At least that they've touched a bench press before.
Exactly. So it shows work ethic. If someone's the first one in the gym, last one to leave, they're going to probably have a good bench. So I'll just say that. Yeah. But it's about strength. It's upper body strength. Just like the broad jump, you measure lower body strength. It's upper body strength. Offensive lineman, defensive lineman, you want them to at least have – every team will have a certain minimum. So you want them to be strong. Now, if you got a big offensive tackle that has like 36, 37-inch arms, they're probably not going to do as good at the bench as someone has like 31, 32-inch arms, because that's just so much longer you have to go. You have to on every rep. So if you have really long arms, I'm sure they have like some kind of chart where how long your arm is, how many reps we want you to do. But if you have short arms, you can probably do a lot more than someone who has, longer arms, and length is just so important. It's so many positions. Having long arms in the NFL, it's not talked about enough. They'll mention it here and there on ESPN or NFL Network, but it can be a huge difference on where you're drafted and how you move up in the draft or move down if your arms are short at multiple positions. So very important thing that's not talked about enough.
Yeah, I agree. We spend so much time talking about hand size for quarterbacks, and the conversation that gets lost is arm length and size. And I think, honestly, it's a lot more telling arm length and wingspan than it actually is talking about a quarter inch in hand size for a quarterback.
It can make a difference. There very few quarterbacks with under 9-inch hands have been successful in the NFL. It's a metric. And typically quarterbacks that have huge hands typically do better. I'll give you some examples. Shorter quarterbacks, typically, under 6 feet, typically don't work out in the NFL, but Drew Brees and Russell Wilson and they have huge hands.
Yeah.
So you're less likely to fumble. You're more likely to put zip on the ball. So hand size is big, length is big, and you're right. It's not talked about enough, and can make a difference where you're drafted.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh gosh, you know how long I haven't talked on this show for? That was terrible. I had to mute my mic. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to say something, and I couldn't. I told Mitch he could have the whole thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, right over here. So if you guys want to, those of you who are tuning in with us and haven't actually gone to Cheese's YouTube, Cheese, tell us what that is one more time, buddy.
It's at football with cheese, and cheese spelled like Cheez-It.
Okay. So, yes, if you want to learn more about what's going on there and all these different drills that we talked about, he has a whole YouTube video, like 8-9 minutes or so, Cheese, where you go into detail about that kind of stuff. We just kind of scraped the cheese off the grater a little bit. We didn't go into big detail on this. Well, I'm telling you what, I didn't even write that one down. That's pretty good. So yeah, we're going to jump into a couple other things here. Cheese, what player was compared to Trent McDuffie and why in the combine?
Jahdae Barron, the cornerback for Texas. So Trent McDuffie, if you don't know, he's a third-year corner for the Chiefs. He's probably one of the 10 best corners in the NFL. Drafted, I believe, 21st overall about 3 years ago. And he would have gone much higher. But he's a little undersized, under 5'11", under 190 pounds, and has short length, does not have long arms at all. And long arms is important when you're a corner, especially when you play press man, because it's easier to bump the receiver off the route. When you play press man, that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to bump him off the route. The longer your arms are, the easier it is to do that. So Trent McDuffie, I remember watching the draft, everyone kept saying, well, probably can only play the slot because of his short arms, because of his size. And the Chiefs tried him outside, and he has been very successful. And I think it helps a player like Jahdae Barron because their height, weight, speed is almost identical. Barron's a little faster, but their height, weight, speed is almost identical. And both of them had unbelievable college film. So I think Daniel Jeremiah has Jahdae Barron in the top 10. I don't think he's that high, but he could go in the top 20 despite his physical limitations because of someone like Trent McDuffie's had success.
Now, Ellen, I'm going to tell you something. You don't think people watch that, okay? But it's out there right now. Yes, this football knowledge is impressive, but again, we don't bring stupid people on here, okay? All right. So you talked about Gentry. You talked about the Virginia Tech running back. You talked about Hampton from North Carolina and Judkins and Henderson from Ohio State. But you didn't talk about a local guy from Mid-Tenai. And I'll be very honest with you. As you were doing that, I kept waiting. Always, he'll talk about it. And you never did. So I'm going to ask you why before I chastise you first. Why didn't you talk about Cam Scattergood?
Cam Scattergood. Boy, did he come out of nowhere or what? He was not on my radar at all before the season started. I didn't talk about him for a couple of reasons. One, I try to keep the videos under 10 minutes. When I was doing research before I started the channel, I noticed that I was watching videos when it's just one person talking on the camera. If it was 9 or 10 minutes I'd watch, it was like 15, 18, I was skipping those. So I tried to, only keep it to 4 or 5 running backs. But the main reason I didn't mention him was he only did the jumps. I really wanted to see him run. I want to see his 3-cone and 20-yard shuttle because that will determine a lot where he's drafted, how agile he is, how he can make the cuts, what is his speed. I really wanted to see his 40 time because he's a violent runner. He's going to run you over. Tacklers bounce off him. He kind of has a little Nick Chubb to him. People bounce off him. And fun to watch, but I really wanted to see him run, and he didn't. So that's why I didn't bring him up. He just did the jumps, which he did very well in.
All right.
I'm actually surprised by that. I'm surprised he didn't run. He seems like a guy, to your point, Cheese, that kind of came out of nowhere that could actually benefit from a good combine because the lack of tape, or the lack of tape that you want to see, like he had this year. But I'm sure that's in the back of a lot of teams' minds. Like, well, this guy came out of nowhere, and yeah, I think the combine goes a long way for guys exactly in that position. So I'm surprised at that.
And he can catch the ball too, out of the backfield. Really good ball catcher. So he's someone I could see go 3rd round, and I could see him maybe go 5th round. But I hope at the pro day he does all the agility drills and the 40. And like I said, it could only help him.
Well, I thought we thought about Will Howard too, though, right?
I don't know who he was throwing to there. Some of those throws.
Yeah, I'm a big Ohio State guy, but Will Howard looked awful. I did see those clips, and I was like, "What is he doing? What? Oh, he must be throwing. Oh, nope, there isn't anybody over there."
He'll just, when asked about it, he'll just say, "Well, watch Notre Dame game. Let's watch the national championship game."
Yeah,
of course. That's what I'd say too if I was Will Howard, right?
Yeah.
Oh man. Okay, so you know what, Mitch? I think I just figured out why we don't get as many views as we should. And you've tried to tell me this for I don't know how long. We talk too much. We're on here for too long. Our buddy Cheese says, "Hey, I want to keep these things under 10 minutes." We're going to go 2 hours right now, and people, man. I mean,
well, I just meant if one person talking to the camera.
No, I'm with you though. I think there's definitely a cutoff for all of them. That if it's over this time, I'm not even touching it because it's going to be too much. But
well, everybody on the East Coast can put in their headphones and they can go to sleep to it. See, because we'll just bore them to death, and they'll get the first segment with Cheese, and then by the time you and I start talking, they'll be like, "Oh my God, they're still talking." They'll just be asleep.
Or we can just talk about the Jaguars the whole time. That'll put anyone to sleep.
There you go. We could do that too, buddy. Okay, so you spoke about wide receivers. You talked about Matt Golden. You talked about Jalen Royals, who you have a crush on there. Well, maybe you'll touch on that. Yeah. A draft crush.
Draft crush. You got to be specific there.
Oh, I'm very sorry, sir. We're going to change the language here all of a sudden. so you got a draft crush on him, and then you got two guys from Ohio State. You got Noel and Higgins. But one guy that I saw that you left out, again, kind of like the Cam Scadaboo thing that I was a little disappointed in. You left out my favorite guy, mainly because I think every time you say his name, you should do a shot. It's Abuka. And you just, so, well, what about Emeka Abuka, Cheese? What about that?
I actually talked about him in a lot in my recaps of all the college playoff games. So I praised him a ton. I am a huge fan of his for the draft. The reason I didn't talk about him was, like I said, I can only talk about 4 guys. I didn't want the video to go too long, but he's a great prospect. I don't think he's got, game-changing speed, but he'll be a great slot corner in the NFL. He's so good after the catch. He's got natural hands, runs good routes. Just one of those guys that probably will, and I'll talk about this a lot, wherever he gets drafted, he probably should have been drafted 10, 15 spots higher. He met with the Steelers, which I think would be a great fit. They could definitely use a receiver like him. I don't know if they'd probably maybe if trade down in the first scenario or trade back up in the second. But he's a late first, early second round prospect, and he's a willing blocker and probably the best blocking wide receiver from the slot in college football. So, in blocking from a receiver position, it's mostly about effort. You don't need to pancake a guy. You just need to slow him up enough for your running back to get through. And he does that a lot.
I tell you what, man, if a guy from Ohio State goes to Pittsburgh, I may have to just kind of, I don't know if I can handle that.
Daniel Holmes. Yes, I hear you.
All right. So now we're going to do what we like to call the Twitter live poll question. All right. So we're going to put this question up on Twitter right now. You keep seeing me turn over, and most people probably like that because you can't see my face when I move this way. You can only see the headphones, so that's good. So here is the Sportz Truth live Twitter poll question. And I'll ask both of you this. I will hit the post button and we'll get it up here. It says, if your team needed a starting quarterback, which one would you rather have? Cameron Ward or Sam Donald? Let me hit the post button, and then Mitch, I'll go to you. Let me ask you the question one more time. And that is, sir, if your team needed a starting quarterback, which would you rather have? Cameron Ward, Sam Darnold? Mitch, which one would you rather have?
Honestly, I think it really depends on the situation and what your franchise is looking like right now. I think, if I'm in a win now mode, or at least compete now, I would go with Sam Darnold this coming season. Cam Ward, I don't know. There's just a lot of question marks there, and I think Sam had a really good season that he can build off of. Really bad postseason, but you just forget that and try to bounce back. But I don't know. I like the comeback of Sam Darnold. I think that it's something in that confidence back can really be built off of. And honestly, I don't know if Cam Ward's game translates to the NFL the way that I would want to, especially if I'm looking at this season specifically. If I'm trying to compete and this is my championship window, I don't know if I trust either of them, but I think I would trust Darnold a little bit more.
Now, Cheese, you got to help me out here, buddy. You got to tell Mitch you just can't forget about the postseason, right? And then what do you think are the pluses and minuses, since you're the draft guy, the combine guy? What do you think of their plus and minuses of Cameron Ward?
Well, as far as Darnold goes, he looked great in about every game but 3 or 4, and he was terrible. It was like no in between. He looked great. Right. And those last 2 games, he was so bad. It was the old Darnold that when he got pressure would just, not keep his eyes downfield, would start turning the ball over, would just panic and take sacks when he should throw it away. The old Sam Darnold just came back. Mm-hmm. So I don't know which quarterback you're going to get next year. A lot of people think that Minnesota has such a good coaching staff, and they do, that coached him up well and got the best out of him, and that if he goes to another team, he's just not going to be as successful. So I don't know what to do with Darnold. As far as Ward goes, Ward can make every throw. He's athletic. He's big enough. He's a little under 6'2", he's 220. But he's got – let's just put it this way. He turns the ball over too much. He holds the ball like down. You know, when he's on the run, sometimes he's holding the ball down at his hip. I think he had 8 fumbles this past year. Mm-hmm. And you watch Peyton Manning, and Peyton Manning's got the ball up at his chin. He's not going to fumble. And Cam Ward, I think he threw 7 or 8 interceptions this year, but he could have thrown 7 or 8 more. He had a lot of dropped interceptions. So he just turns the ball over too much. And some of the games where he looked amazing, like he's very good in the fourth quarter. He looked great in the fourth quarter, which is a good sign. But some of those games he was pretty bad in the first quarter, so he had to lead his team back. So I don't think he's nearly as good, or let's put it this way. He's not as good as the top 6 guys last year. If he came out last year, I would have had him 7th best quarterback. And this year I probably have him 1st. That's how bad the quarterback draft is this year. But he's not as good as like Michael Penix or Bo Nix or J.J. McCarthy, in my opinion. And the last thing I'll say about him, he broke the record for touchdown passes in the NCAA. And at halftime, he just, I'm not playing anymore once I broke the record. And at the Combine, he did an interview and said, it's not about the record, it's about the team. Well, that's not true. You quit on your team at halftime. You quit on your team and you lost by 1 point. Iowa State beat Miami by 1 point in that game. And if he stays in the game, they're going to win. So I would ask him about that in the interview. But I still have him ahead of Shedeur Sanders very slightly, but I think he's the best quarterback in the draft. And like Mitch said, if I need a quarterback, I'm a young team, then I'd take Cam Ward over Sam Darnold.
Okay, I got you. So you can go to our Twitter page. It's at the 643 and Out Pod. You can vote on that right now. There's some people who have already jumped on and have done that there. I was looking over my shoulder to see what's going on, so we appreciate that. Before we get into rapid fire with Cheese, that's how we're going to end this segment. This should be good. We'll just throw a bunch of questions at him and watch him just kind of deke, and it's like a 10-minute offense here. We'll just keep right on going with it.
Let's go. Bring it on.
Yeah. All right. So when a team who has multiple draft picks, like Virginia Tech does this year, but yet they have an actual below 500 season as a team, does that send up a red flag to you?
No, I don't think so. I have family that went to Tech. My Uncle Steve and Aunt Ann both went there. So they were not happy about this season, trust me. I don't think so. It's really about, you just want good players. Team success, it's nice. Like there's a lot of great Ohio State players that had success, that has the playoff experience. You love that. But you really just want good players. And if the Virginia Tech player is the best player on your board, you're going to take him. I mean, Aeneas Peebles is a great interior pass rusher. Byshul Tootin, running back, unbelievable combine, so explosive. Dorian Strong is a great corner, probably number 3 or 4 corner. Antoine Powell-Ryland, edge rusher, should be a rotational edge rusher. Jalen Lane, wide receiver, could be a starting slot receiver. Really like him. And Daquan Felton, if you need a possession receiver, 6'5" guy, goal line receiver. That's 6 guys that should all go probably in rounds 3, 4, 5. So Tech they're going to be in the top 5 of colleges of players drafted. They showed the list toward the end of the draft. You're going to have Ohio State first for sure. Georgia, Texas will be up there, but Virginia Tech could be higher than LSU or Alabama, believe it or not. The players drafted. So, yeah.
All right. I didn't know how you felt about that. I thought that was going to be an interesting thing because I don't know. I want winners too, right? And technically they're not winners.
Well, maybe blame the coaching. Okay.
Okay.
But some of these guys just had great workouts, and I think Aeneas Peebles reminds me a little of the Dallas pass rusher just got paid. I'm not even going to try to say his name, but
yeah. We're going to do a segment later, and I am not going to include him because of the same thing. The guy whose name starts with an O. I don't know the rest of them.
Right.
Mitch, you work on that while we get to that segment. Okay,
I'm staying away from that one. I'm staying away from that.
But Aeneas Peebles, he's so good at interior pass rush. Quick first step. He's not going to start. He's not good against the run. He's undersized, but he'll be a great rotational player. Third down player. He's going to get interior pass rush. And so 3rd round, you're sitting there. You're a team like the Chiefs or Eagles. late third round, he's still there, run to the podium.
All right, got it. So we're going to do a little bit of intro music. I didn't intro Cheese with music, so we're going to intro him with the rapid fire segment here with a little music. All right.
Okay.
Get you going here.
Let's go.
All right. So Mitch and I are going to go back and forth here, and we're going to just fire stuff at you. All right, buddy? So here's the first one. Why should people like us listen and watch you for football knowledge? And there's one to start off with. Go ahead, Chief.
Okay. Great question. Because I've studied the draft, studied football for years. I'm going to tell you things that they're not going to tell you on TV. Like I said, I've studied what it takes to work in the NFL. Like I said, arm length is not talked about enough. Work ethic, high motor isn't as important enough. They talk about height, weight, speed a lot of times, like extra stuff. And I study the general managers too. I don't just study the players. Obviously, new general managers are tough, but I study tendencies in the NFL, what a general manager does, what kind of players he likes. Does he have certain thresholds? Does he like certain positions better than others? Some GMs just won't even draft defensive backs till day 3. They just don't. They just want to draft linemen early, and what it and why certain teams are more successful than others, and a lot of it comes down to their draft philosophy. So, like for the Eagles, for example, Howie Roseman drafted offensive and defensive linemen early. And look how much they dominated that Super Bowl on the lines. They dominated in the trenches. And I think a lot of teams need to try to copy that. And it's not just drafting. You have to draft the right guy too. But the Eagles are just so good on the offense and defensive line. They had 2 first-round picks on the offensive line, 2 second-round picks. So defensive line, 3 of the 4 starters are first-round picks. So that's what you got to do. And they had one big weakness. And it was corner, and they used their first 2 picks on corners this past year. That was their one weakness, and they fixed it, and they're champions.
Now, I'm going to put this up here because I don't know if you understood the concept. Rapid fire with Chief. I mean, I know that you've got tons of knowledge in that brain of yours, buddy. It's called rapid fire with Chief.
Okay.
All right. Mitch, go ahead with the second question, buddy.
No, I like it. That was good insight, and I think it kind of led me into this one. How important to you are draft classes, and kind of where do you? Yeah, I'll just leave it at that.
Very, very important. If a position's strong, you should draft multiple players at that position because the best player on your board might be like if it's a great running back draft, the best player on your board might be a running back in every round. So you can't take a running back every round, but you can take 2 or 3. Like defensive tackle is so strong. If you need a defensive tackle, you should come away with 2 or 3 in this draft. Very, very important.
So, Cheese, do you think there's going to be a run of running backs on draft day?
Day 2, absolutely. Day 2, we could see 6 or 7 go. I think 2 or 3 will go in the first round. And then there's so many good starting running backs in this draft. And second, third round, we're going to see a bunch go.
All right, Mitch, go ahead and take the one about the 50.
Yeah, so last year there was only 1 running back taken in the first 50 picks. How many running backs do you think are taken in the first 50 picks this season?
At least 3, but I could see 6. I could see just judging from that combine, we could see 6.
So who are the 6?
Oh, okay. Ashton Genty, Quinshon Judkins, Amarian Hampton for sure. Travion Henderson has a very good chance. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I should have had my list in front of me. But Cam Scatterbook could go in. He could go in the third round. Absolutely, he could. Let's see how he runs. See how he does the agility drills. But those guys are pretty much. Those first 4 are pretty much locks. The first 2 rounds. And there's one. Dylan Sampson, Tennessee. Dylan Sampson, Tennessee is another one that should go in the third round. I really like Devin Neal. I think he's going day 3. Devin Neal, Kansas, I'm a huge fan of because the tape doesn't lie. It didn't work out great, but the tape doesn't lie. The guy can do it all.
All right. So what is the term 10-yard split, and what does it mean for the people in the combine?
10-yard split is just the first 10 yards of the 40-yard dash. And it measures really quickness, like how quick you are out of the 3-point stance. So it's really important maybe for edge rushers and tight ends, because you're in 3-point stances. That's how you start. So I want to know just like how quick you are off the line. Important for slot receivers who need to get open quickly. So maybe not as important as for like deep threat wide receivers. You care more about the speed later on in the 40. So it's initial quickness.
All right, now I'm going to take the last one, Mitch. I know I'm stepping on your toes here for a minute, but we couldn't let you go without talking Green Bay Packers, right? I mean, this is football with cheese. So
Okay.
how important are kickers in the NFL on an NFL team? And did you like the 3-year, $15.3 million contract that Brandon McManus of Green Bay just signed today? Go about that, buddy.
Kickers are more important than ever because almost every kicker can kick 60-yard kick now. So right before halftime, right at the end of the game, it just you have more field goal opportunities. And if you don't have a kicker and make a clutch kick, I'll give you an example. Last year, 49ers Packers, Green Bay was up 4 late in the game. Anders Carlson was their kicker. He missed a kick. They would have gone up 7. They lost by 3. So it's getting more and more important, and it's a great move for the Packers. After Anders Carlson and Braden Narvison, it was giving me early gray hairs. But yeah, great signing. McManus was terrific for the Packers. I'm very happy he's back.
All right.
How would you draft a kicker? What's the highest you would draft a kicker?
7th round.
Yeah.
Most kickers drafted 4th and 5th round are busts.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's pressure.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's actually a really good kicker and punter draft. I'll say this. It's a good specialist draft. So if you need a kicker and punter, yeah, late round pick, I would use a 6th or 7th round pick on a kicker or punter in this draft.
All right, buddy. That was a rapid fire, kind of, sort of, with cheese. All right. So, man, it's just got so much knowledge in that brain. He just, man, it's like you just pull an endless CNC. You just pull on that string, and he just keeps going and going and going. So, man, that's again, that's why we bring people like this on the show. We know they're smart. Mitch and I know we're not the greatest football guys in the world. I'm not sure if Cheese challenged us in baseball, but that's not what we're doing right at the moment. We're doing NFL Combine for Dummies, right? All right, and that was our segment there. I certainly appreciate you helping us out and doing with that. Now, you have agreed, buddy. You've said, hey, I'm going to stay on board and I'm going to do the NFL 4-down territory, right?
Let's go. Let's do it.
All right. You got to have music for NFL 4-down territory, too. I mean, you can't just only have music for the others. Right? So in this particular segment, NFL 4-down territory, we look at 4 different things and have some questions on each one. So the 4 things that we're going to look at here are the Deebo Samuel trade. We're going to look at the franchise tag. We are going to look at Twitter poll question that I'll get to here in just a moment. Then we're going to turn around and look at the Dallas Cowboys, what they did today with some guys his name starts with an O, and that's all the further we're going. And they did something with a wide receiver today, and I think that they did this for a specific reason. We'll talk about that reason here in just a moment on the Sportz Truth. Mitch, buddy, we've talked a lot about cheese. Let's talk a little bit about Mitch, man. You got that mustache rocking. You're good as well, buddy. Tell us where they can find you at on.
Yeah, you'll find me at Mitchellbrook52 on X. You can give you a follow back, and follow along for some baseball content, especially this time of year with spring training.
Absolutely. We'll get to that spring training here in just a moment. We got the good guy Cheese on here with us. We got to take advantage of him and all of his knowledge. So we're going to jump into some more stuff. But right before we do, Cheese, tell us what your X handle is as well, so people can go over there and follow you, and I'm sure you'll follow them back. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, it's just at Football Cheese without the with. At Football Cheese, CHEEZ.
All right, so that's pretty simple to remember. At Football Cheese, it's right there in the bottom as it's scrolling across the bottom as well. You can see it. I'm getting ready to take it away. That's why I made sure that he plugged himself real quick before we did that. I'm going to go to the 4-down territory across the bottom. There it is, and we're going to go into it now. So, gentlemen, the Deebo Samuel trade. Mitch, give me like 10, 15 seconds on what you thought of the trade without giving the other two questions away, all right? Because you love to do that.
Yeah, I think it tells me two things. That one, they're sick of Diva Samuel, and two, they just didn't care what they had to take. They wanted him out, and the big benefit here was getting his money off the books. And it's not even a big cap hit, but yeah, just shipping him out and wiping their hands clean.
All right. So the two questions that I had were going to be, were the 49ers tired of him? And we'll ask the second one in a moment. And I'm telling you what here, Chiefs, if we didn't do anything else for you, we got you a new subscriber. TC says he just subscribed to you there. So at least we got you one thing. All right, buddy?
Cool. Appreciate
all right.
that.
What do you think about the Deebo Samuel trade, Chiefs?
I think the 49ers, like you said, they're tired of Deebo. It's time to move on. There were rumors of his bad conditioning, not showing up in shape. He's always been had an attitude, been kind of a diva. And the 49ers had 18 players over 30 this past year, and they didn't have a good season. A lot of people got hurt. They need to get younger, and John Lynch knows that. And they need to clear his cap space. It gives them a lot more cap room, so it makes sense.
All right, now wait. You just hit us with a nice stat here. How many? You said people over 30. How many does San Francisco have?
Going in the season on their initial 53-man roster, they had 18 guys 30 or older to start the year. By far the most in the NFL.
Yeah. Good job by Chief. Dropping stat knowledge on the show for us today. Nice job, buddy. Nice job. All right, Mitch. So does this allow Washington to now challenge Philadelphia in that division with the addition of Deebo Samuel?
It definitely helps. I don't know how much of a real challenge it's going to be. I think it's still Philly's division for sure. But yeah, I mean, it helps if he and Jaden Daniels can create a good relationship. It is a bit of a cap hit. It's only, I think, $5.2 million this year, so not as bad as what he's actually making. It's better than the $18 million that he's going to make, basically all from a signing bonus. But yeah, it definitely helps, but I don't think it's going to be enough just with Deebo.
Well, I'm going to give this, and some people say it's breaking news. I'm not sure if it is. I stopped watching this show a long time ago, and mainly because I'm not a big ESPN guy. I don't know about how the other two of you feel about ESPN. I think they do. I know we're in a football segment, but they do way too much football for me and not enough baseball for me. So they're announcing right now that they are canceling Around the Horn after 23 years. So ESPN is going to do away with the series Around the Horn. So let us go around the horn for a second here. Cheese, I want to get your opinion. Does this mean that Washington now can challenge Philadelphia for the division with the addition of Deebo? I'll say that fast. With the division with the addition of Deebo Samuel. Go ahead, bud.
They're not there. They've got to improve on the offensive line. They need at least 2, maybe 3 more starters. So it makes them better. He's a good fit. It's another weapon. They can use him on like jet sweeps and use him a gadget play, can run the ball. So it just gives them another weapon, but they have to improve the offensive line to compete with the Eagles.
All right, sorry that got awkward. I forgot my mic was on mute because I was coughing over here, and then I forgot to unmute it. So, we told you we screwed some things up. All right, there we go. We got. All right, good job screwing up, Valentine. Good job. All right, okay. So we got the Deebo Samuel thing out of the way. Gentlemen, there were only 2 franchise tags this season. A wide receiver for the Bengals, T. Higgins. He's going to be franchise tagged at a whopping $26.2 million this season. And you got the Chiefs guard, Trey Smith, who is going to be franchise tagged for $23.4 for the year. So, Cheese, I'll ask you first. Is the franchise system working, or does the NFL need to do something to either tweak it or get rid of it?
I've never been a huge fan of it. Personally, I think they should just get rid of it. It's a really weak free agent class. That's why there's only 2. It's last season was just much stronger, really strong free agent class. But the 2021 draft was so weak. So 4 years later, there's not many good free agents. So I don't like it. I think they should just get rid of it.
Mitch, are you going to agree with Cheese? Or are you going to take a different stance, buddy?
Yeah, no, I agree. I honestly just don't like the premise of it. I think it's for it's for rental players, and it doesn't have really the best long-term interest for teams in mind, and it doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm not a big fan. I wouldn't mind seeing it.
I'm not sure what.
I'll just add one more point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Some teams use it just to shop the player around.
Yep.
And you really should have no right to trade a player that's supposed to be a free agent. So a lot of teams franchise and then try to shop them, and I think I don't like that.
Yep.
So then they can still trade a player after they franchise tag him?
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know that. Very good.
Mhm.
I don't know what Harrison's booing here, but he says boo. I mean, I'm sure that
He loves the franchise tag, I guess.
maybe that's it. See, now he's
Big franchise, big guy. Yeah.
all right. No arguing, gentlemen. Keep it professional here. All right, we're gonna do that. All right. So once again, but if you are listening out there right at the moment, like there's a whole bunch of other people who are, you can comment things on the topics that we are talking about right now. You can do that by simply going to the top right-hand part of the screen and putting in your comment. And as long as you talk about what we're talking about, we'll put you up on the screen. And sometimes, even if you're not, we'll still do it. So it's at my discretion. So, maybe you want to put a QR code up there for a free burrito or something, and then I'll make sure we put your comment on it. All right. All right. So our Twitter question that has come out. Let me see where we are at on that. I should have had that kind of more ready, I guess. While we're doing that, I'm also going to check here. All right. So we are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 right at the moment on everything going on as far as number of podcasts that we've got. So we follow almost 6,200 people on Twitter. I'm sorry, they follow us. So about 6,200 people follow us on Twitter. What Twitter does is it looks at those 6,200 people, and if anybody else is doing podcasts right at the moment or anything like that on their platform, they look at how many people have got the most, and we are at number 6 right now. So we appreciate you helping us out, being up there in almost in the top 5. I have faith that we'll be in the top 5 before it's all said and done. But let's talk about the Twitter poll question, the X question. Which is more likely to help another team more? The New York Jets releasing Aaron Rodgers or the New York Jets releasing Davante Adams? Mitch, I'll start with you. Which of those two guys is going to help another team more? Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams?
Really depends which team, but I think and the price tag that comes along with either of these guys. But I would have to say Davante Adams. I'm not sure how much left Rodgers has in the tank, and honestly, I want to see him do well. If he does come back, I don't really have strong feelings either way if he is going to retire or if he is going to come back. But I do want to, if he comes back, I do want to see him do well. So I would have to say Davante, I think, would make the bigger impact. But if Rodgers is, keeps that chip on his shoulder and actually comes out and proves people wrong and turns back the clock a little bit, that could be a huge signing for somebody.
All right, I don't know, Cheese. I'm a little tired of Aaron Rodgers myself. What about you, buddy? Who do you think is going to make the bigger impact, Aaron Rodgers or Davante?
Well, Davante's much younger. He's still playing at a high level. So you'd say Davante. The only way it would be Aaron is because he's a quarterback. And quarterback's just it's just a much more important position. But I'd still say Davante. Aaron actually wasn't playing that well until he got Davante on his team and started playing better because he had more talent around him. So Aaron really, years ago, he didn't have the best talent. He still played well. He can't do that anymore. So yeah, I think it's Davante.
So are they a package deal? I mean, that might be the other question. I know it's not on our notes, but Mitch, what do you think? Are they going to be a package deal no matter what happens? If one goes to the Giants, we'll say, then the other one's going to go. Or, I've also heard rumors saying that Devontae wants to come out west, out here somewhere. Maybe he'll sign and have Kyler Murray throw into him. I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I don't think Devontae's tight enough to package himself with Rodgers again. I think he's tried that twice now and hasn't worked out. So yeah, I think I don't think they're a package deal anymore. I'm sure Rodgers would like them to be.
Right.
Going to be.
Yeah, I'm sure that would be the case. What about you, Cheese? Are they a package deal, or can they go to two separate teams, or how do you think this is all going to play out before it's all said and done?
They're not a package deal. I just don't see a team that needs a quarterback that also will have the cap room for both players. So maybe Pittsburgh because they need a receiver and a quarterback, but that's a lot of cap room. I just don't see it. I think they end up on separate teams. And like you said, Devontae, he's a West Coast guy, went to Fresno State. He wanted out of Green Bay. He went to the Raiders. That's on the West Coast. So, well, Nevada, close enough. But I don't know. I was just thinking, what if he goes to the Niners? What if now they trade Debo, they have all this cap room? What if they go after Devontae Adams?
That might be a little more interesting than my Arizona Cardinal take. I was thinking put him on the other side of Harrison and let him go. But, yeah, I could see that. I could see that a lot. Okay, so let's move to the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys have restructured star wide receiver CeeDee Lamb's contract so that it saves them roughly $20 million. And the assumption with that cap savings is that they're getting ready to pay Micah Parsons. So, Chief, I'm going to start with you here. Will Micah Parsons become the highest paid linebacker when he signs his new deal, whether it's with Dallas or somebody else?
Yes.
Mitch?
Yeah.
I had to cut him off. It's the only time I've been able to cut him off. He just said one word. So I was like, yep, cut him off.
Yeah, it is that simple, though. Yes, it's not even up for debate. It's going to.
So, geez, what do you think? What do you think Dallas could get from Micah Parsons as far as like draft pick compensation if they traded him? I mean, are we talking 2 number ones? Are we talking, a 1 number 1 and 2 twos? What do you think we're talking about here as far as if they traded him? What could they get in return to be able to kind of jumpstart them?
I don't think you're getting 2 number ones because not only would you give up all that draft compensation, then you have to pay him, and it takes a ton of your cap to pay him. So I don't think he gets a player that impactful. There's almost no draft compensation you can get back. It's like Myles Garrett. The Browns could get 3 first-round picks. It's not going to be as good as Myles Garrett. He's that good, and Micah Parsons is that good. So there's nothing. I mean, what if the team's really good? You get 2 picks in the 30s or high 20s. You're not going to get a player as good as Parsons or Garrett. So I think he stays in Dallas and signs an extension.
All right. Mitch, let's go same question. So what do you think Dallas could get for him if they were to trade Micah Parsons?
Yeah, I agree. It's not enough. And I think if you're in the sweepstakes or if you're in the market for a Micah Parsons, you're going to wait for him to hit free agency. You're not going to make the trade for him because you're going to have to give up too much and then give up too much when you sign him. So it's kind of a double whammy. You're better off just waiting till you can find him on the open market.
Man, geez, you think this is your show? Football with cheese is the best. What is going on here?
You got a lot of smart people in the chat today.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yeah.
They're probably all your relatives or people that you paid. That's what I think it is. But that's what they do.
I don't know an MB, but
all right, sure you don't. Mike Parsons doesn't want to get paid either, right? Okay, whatever. So, I don't know. I'm kind of in the camp. I'm going to go against the two of you because I'm kind of in the camp of if I'm Dallas, I don't want to pay him all that money. I'll take the draft picks and not have to pay that much money just to, I don't want to say to get rid of him because he's not a bum. But, just like Chi said earlier, you can't get a whole lot for him because you're not going to give up a ton of draft and then have to pay him. I agree with that statement, and Dallas is going to have to pay him. We started off the segment by, is he going to be the highest paid linebacker in football? Yes. And right now, Roquan Smith makes $20 million a year in Baltimore. So that means he's going to make in excess of $20 million a year. Personally, I would be on the Dallas should trade him, should restart, um, because they're not winning anything for a while. I don't think. I think they're way too far away. Mitch, do you think Dallas is too far away, or do you think if they go ahead and sign Micah Parsons, they can build around him and Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb?
Yeah, I think they've still got a ways to go. I don't think that's going to be the difference maker. But losing him makes them infinitely farther away. That's just a huge piece for their defense that they will not be able to replace through the draft or free agency.
All right. Well, Cheese, you already said that you thought that he would stay with Dallas, but is that what you would do if you were Jerry Jones in Dallas?
Well, if I was Jerry Jones, if I am the Cowboys, they'd be a lot better because he makes so many dumb decisions. I really don't know. The thing with Jerry Jones is he waited way too long to sign CeeDee Lamb. He waited way too long to sign Dak, and both got way bigger contracts they could have had if he'd done it a year earlier. And he might be doing the same thing with Parsons.
That's what he's doing right now with Parsons.
That's what he's doing with Parsons. And then they wonder why they have to restructure all these contracts every year, push it into future cap and hurt your future cap. But one thing you said was dead on. They're not there to compete right now because the last two drafts were really poor. And Jerry Jones or the Cowboys, they're a draft and develop team. We draft, we re-sign our key guys and let the others walk. And that's the way to do it. That works only if you draft well. And the last two drafts, Cowboys just have not done well. So their roster is just not nearly what it used to be like 3 and 4 years ago.
All right, Cheese. So we know it's football with cheese, right? It's a great title because, of course, you're a Wisconsin guy, you're a Green Bay guy. Tell us one more time, where can we get you at on YouTube, buddy?
Yeah, it's right there on the screen at Football with Cheese. Just type that into YouTube, cheese spelled like Cheez-It. And just subscribe to the channel. I do probably 5 or 6 videos a week. When get close to the draft, I'm going to probably do 2 a day. So just check me out.
All right, so somebody had to be nice to Mitch. This must be Stomp on Valentine's Day because nobody sad over here. Nobody's saying anything positive about me. It's okay. We're good. So, what you do on your channel, Cheese, is basically, give everybody like 8-10 minute videos or so, and you pick a subject and you go on it for about 8 to 10 minutes. So, you said you got some things coming up. Tell us what you've got coming up on the channel so people can go over there and they'll know what they're going to see.
Well, I've done a few draft profile. Can't talk right now. I've done a few draft profiles. I'm going to break down, especially a lot of the first round picks. I'm going to do videos just breaking down. We got free agency coming up. I'm going to have daily videos updating all these free agents, what I think about it, and what I think I'm going to do. Probably in April, start doing some mock drafts on the show. People just have been asking for it. People love mock drafts. I don't know if you guys have ever done one on the show, but
we have never done one on the show. But I'd like to get enough people together. I mean, I can't bring 30 people on the show, but I'd like to get enough people together. Maybe we could do something live, and all of us be in the same spot. And then maybe do some kind of draft. Each person represents the team or something like that. That would be kind of fun. But maybe I don't think this is going to be the last time you're going to be on this show, buddy. So I think we need to do some more collaboration here as the draft gets closer and figure out exactly what we want to do. And maybe you can even have Mitch on your show or something. Maybe I don't know because everybody thinks I suck. So I mean the only person that's worth anything to go on yours is Mitch. So. Maybe that would be well to do. So go ahead, Chief.
No, I say I'd love to be back on. No, Michael, I don't know if you've ever done like play-by-play announcing. You have that voice that you like when you're watching a baseball game. The play-by-play voice. You got that voice. I don't know if anyone's ever told you that.
Well, you're not supposed to embarrass me on live YouTube and Twitter, but okay. I appreciate the compliment. I'll blush a little. We'll be okay. All right. So I appreciate the compliment. compliment. Yes, I've been told that I have a voice for radio and not for television, so we're good there.
Got the face for it too, yeah.
Look, I asked you, mustache boy. Okay, man, we got to have some fun at least a little bit here. All right, so um, I do want to look at one more thing with Micah Parsons in Dallas here, and that is, Mitch, I'll start with you. How much do you think Dallas actually views his off the field things, like this podcast that he does and things? Do you think Dallas views that as a plus for their team?
I don't know. Well, I guess by extension, Dallas, because I think Jerry loves anytime he can get extra eyes on anything Cowboys. So I think, yeah, he probably values it more than any other team would. Now, to the fans, I don't know. But, yeah, I think Jerry definitely does. I think that's a plus for him anytime he can, kind of build that brand up a little more. And Micah's a great ambassador of the Dallas Cowboys brand. So, yeah, I think that's definitely a piece of it for Jerry.
Right. I mean, I get the feeling sometimes that Jerry is more about branding the Dallas Cowboys than he is winning with the Dallas Cowboys. Geez, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's all about Jerry, and he does what owner does post-game press conferences, talk to the media after the game. It's all about him. You know that he does tours while the Cowboys are practicing. He charges like he needs the money. They do tours while the players are practicing. And sometimes the players will like go to the weight room and run into like fans that are in the tour. Have you seen that? I saw that online this past season. That's insane. What are you doing, Jerry?
And we've actually talked about it on the show before. Yeah, I mean, there was a player, I can't remember, or maybe the player was anonymous. Like there's windows, I guess, and the people that are on tour can stop by the windows and look in and see him working out, and see him doing different spots. And the Dallas Cowboy player said something like, we feel like we're an exhibit at the zoo. That would have to be awful, just so Jerry Jones can make an extra $20 a person doing a tour.
Yeah, it's all about Jerry.
It is. It is all about Jerry. Well, Cheese, it's been all about you for the first hour and 12 minutes of this show, man. You have been rocking this thing. We certainly appreciate it. We're going to do one more part here. I'm going to turn this over to Mitch because Mitch is not called Money Bags for nothing, right? So we're gonna talk to him about some gambling pieces here, and then Chief will get your opinion, and then we'll bid you adieu, and then we'll finish everything out with our baseball talk here in just a moment. So, Mitch, tell us who will be the top pick in the 2025 NFL draft. Let's look at some draft odds, or let's look at some betting odds.
Yeah. I'll tell you who the overwhelming, at least in Vegas, the overwhelming majority are choosing. It's Cameron Ward. He's minus 250 right now. And it looks like that's going to be where the number one pick goes this year.
Okay.
Abdul Carter actually at plus 190, and then the two Colorado boys, Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders, rounding out the top three. Travis Hunter is plus 750 and Shedeur plus 1,200. But yeah, I think it is going to be Cam Ward. I don't think we're gonna get any crazy surprises there, but Vegas, still kind of keeping those Abdul Carter odds a little lower just in case there is a shocker.
All right, so Cheese, if you were the Tennessee Titans, and I know I didn't put this in the show notes, so I'm hitting you with this a little out of left field here. That's a great segue, by the way, to our MLB talk we'll be doing here in a minute. No, man, I tell you, I'm giving myself a that was pretty darn good right there. What are you shaking your head for up there, Mitch? Calm down, buddy. So
get one compliment on your voice and it goes to your head. And
I know. Man, my headphones are hurting. They're like tight.
He has no idea the monster he created.
I got to stop with the compliments.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Hey, so if you were Tennessee, are you taking Cam Ward with that first pick? Are you trading it? What are you thinking that Tennessee is thinking, Steve?
Well, if I'm Tennessee, then my franchise is pretty bad because we're picking first. I'm going to try and trade it. I want picks next year because I don't know who's going to be the first pick this year. probably Cam Ward, but next year it's going to be Arch Manning if he comes out, quarterback Texas. And I want him. So I don't mind being terrible in 2025, getting more picks and much better quarterback class next year, because this one's bad. And I don't think Cam Ward's the best player. So I want to trade out, but I could see them taking him.
So then, if you're going to play this game with us here in our backfield betting line, sponsored by nobody yet for some stupid reason. So if if you're going to take somebody and you're gonna try to win some money from Vegas, and it's not going to be Cam Ward, who are you going to take, thinking that maybe there's a trade or something crazy happens, like Mitch said that he didn't think it was going to, but let's say something crazy does happen. What do you think the crazy is going to be, Chief?
The crazy would be Travis Hunter, because he can play multiple positions. He's probably going to play corner and then play certain packages at wide receiver.
Okay.
But the Titans' new GM said, I don't want to pass on a generational talent if he's available. And a lot of people thought that's what he meant, and maybe he was talking about Travis Hunter. Now, he could be lying, because that's what they do. A lot of people just lie because they don't want to know your draft strategy. But if you pick in first, if you're not looking to trade down, you don't need to lie. But I think he's looking to move down. I really do, and get more picks. And he might be able to move down and still get Cam Ward. You never know.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't think about that. Yeah. Because if they don't take him, I mean, I don't know. With what you're looking at, somebody like the Jets maybe taking him, or somebody the Giants or the Raiders or someone like that. Depends on how far they move down, right?
Right. And the Browns pick second. They could use a quarterback. Most teams that pick in the top 6 or 7 need quarterbacks because they're bad teams.
Right. Okay. Fantastic, buddy. Cheese. Awesome. That's what you have been, bud. So we certainly appreciate you. Thank you very much. Like I said, this is not going to be the last time you're on the show. We're going to give you a big round of applause here as we have you exit stage left. All right, buddy. Well, thank you very much. We'll be looking forward to your videos. You are on X at what?
At Football Cheese. CHEEZ. At Football Cheese.
All right. And they can catch you over on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit the little bell button at what, sir?
At Football with Cheese.
At Football with Cheese. All right, buddy. Thank you very much. We certainly appreciate you. Have yourself a great day. Thank you for coming on. Mitch, I'll let you say goodbye to him one last time, because you keep staring at him like you got some crush on him.
Yeah, thanks, Cheese. Appreciate it. I don't know if I'm staring at my screen or staring at only Cheese, but yeah, sure.
I thought I was staring at the light. The lights are in my eyes from the stadium. That's what I've been
draft
saying.
crush, maybe. Draft crush.
Draft crush. Jalen Royals, Utah State wide receiver. Check out his highlights. Incredible player. I hope he's a Packer. My draft crush from last season was Edgerrin Cooper, A&M, and the Packers drafted him in the second round. So I was so stoked when they took him. So, but thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it.
Yeah,
I had fun.
thank you.
Yep, no problem, buddy. Thank you very much. Appreciate you, Cheese.
Yeah, later.
All right. All right, buddy. Hey, that was fun. I really like that. That's a fantastic segment. Cheese did a really good job with us. Thank you all very much for being with us as well. Now we're going to get into our MLB talk with MLB 4-pitch talk. We're going to do a lot of spring training, and then we're going to do some more spring training, and then we might do one more piece of spring training, just because, it's that time of year, buddy. All right, so we're going to talk about the ticket prices. We're going to talk about, is it insulting not put the player's name on their back of the spring training jersey? We're going to talk about what our favorite part of spring training is, and we're going to dive into that a little bit. We'll touch on Mike Kostakis. We'll touch on player and team loyalty. Excuse me, how much we put into spring training statistics. We're going to do a quote from Terry Francona here in a moment and see what you think about that. Not sure if you've seen the quote yet, but I'll reveal it to you here in just a moment. And then we're also going to look at the batting practice betting line. So all of that will be done here in 4-pitch talk. All right, Mitch. So the spring ticket prices are getting close to regular season prices here. So my question to you is, would you pay regular season pricing for spring training tickets?
Well, I think this is a tough one to answer because I want to say no. I want to say I would dig my feet in and just not. But honestly, I don't think there's any pricing that would keep me away from spring training or baseball as a whole. I think I would go to a lot less games. I can say that, and I know that to be the case. But I don't think I could say no. I'm not going to spring training because it's regular season prices. Mostly because honestly, I enjoy spring training just as much, if not more, as the regular season, especially that early regular season.
Right. So what about the parking prices? Does it bother you more if a team tries to gouge you with a parking price? You know, you can say the name if you want. I'll say it in a minute if you won't. But there's a stadium that has really increased their parking prices this year. And we know you've been to more games than I have so far, which is actually really impressive. Now, that's not going to hold true here in the next couple of weeks as I'm off work and my buddy Tony's coming in. Salute to you. I know he's watching right at the moment, and we appreciate him and all the other people back in Ohio watching us. So, does it bother you more with ticket prices, or does it bother you more if they try to gouge you on like a parking price?
Yeah, I realized the other week that I might be starting to turn into a little bit of a get off my lawn guy. Because
Uh,
I just about lost it pulling up to Salt River Fields of the Diamondbacks and Rockies. I'll drop them because they deserve to know that, and they should be shamed a little bit. Um, but yeah, I don't know. To go from last season, free parking, maybe $5 parking on the big games. Anytime the Dodgers roll into town or the stadium, you can expect to pay for parking at least $5 there, which isn't bad. I'll pay that any day. That's fine. But when you pull up, to spring training this season, and there's no like warning and no acknowledgement of, hey, we're going to be charging for parking this year, and it's going to be either $20 for a lot that is 2 blocks away from the stadium or $10 for a lot that's 5 blocks away. Yeah, it's just that really grinds my gears. So yeah, I was pretty ticked off there. I ended up, driving the extra 5 minutes back to the local Target and parking my car there, and then making the walk. And thankfully, I was there in time. But yeah, it's just it. After the rising ticket prices, you're also going to raise or even start charging for parking on a dirt lot that it is, I don't know, that barely even fit for parking and driving a car on. Yeah, that really gets me. I'd rather you charge me the extra $5-10 in the ticket.
Sorry, I'm coughing up a storm over here. That's why you see me keep muting everything. I don't want to cough in the mic like I did a second ago. So yeah, I get it. I'm in the same boat. We had this discussion at the game yesterday. Mitchell and I both went to Goodyear Ballpark yesterday. Watched his Brewers and my Reds play each other, uh, and Goodyear doesn't charge anything for parking. We even said, hey, you want to charge me $1 or two, or maybe even $5 for parking, per vehicle? That's fine. I'll pay that, and they can make some more money that way. I would even them rather like give it to some church organization or a charitable thing to go out there and those guys park the cars and they charge you $5 and the stadium gets 250 and the whatever church or whatever civic group or whatever would get the other 250. I would be more than happy to do that as far as that part goes. What about concessions and merchandise pricing? I mean, do you get upset when you go into the you know to the spot and you're trying to buy a jersey and you know it's going to be $120, or do you just shake your head? You already know it's going to be really expensive, so you've already just kind of you're okay with it in your head.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I really shake my head at here is, we've seen a big push in the regular season venues, and especially here in Arizona at Chase Field, where we have the value menu. We haven't seen any spring training club or park adopt that yet. And I think I would really like to see that. I think that's the only thing. You kind of just accept the rest of it. But yeah, it's pretty noticeable in the times where we get 2 Skyline chili dogs last night, and I think they're probably about half the size that they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, when we first started going to games together.
But they're twice the month.
And twice the price. So yeah, I think that's when you notice, and it is what it is. But yeah, I'd really like to see teams go to that like value pricing, at least for waters, at the very least, or chips, popcorn, whatever it is. Some kind of value menu pricing would be really
And
nice.
we talked about this last night too. The thing that Goodyear used to do that would keep me coming back to Goodyear all the time is you buy the souvenir drink, and then you could get the refills for like $1 or $2. They were $1 for a while, then they increased them to $2. And man, I would bring that cup back all the time, and I'd be like, you know what? I'll go to that stadium and I'll pay the price for that ticket because I'm going to make up that money in the pop. And come on, we all know that a 24-ounce pop does not cost $8. So it's not like they're still not making money, right? That would be all the kind of value thing that I would need, and that would keep me going back to that stadium all.
Yep, agreed.
Sorry, that was an ill-timed cough. All right, so we're going to go to another subject here. We talked about this some last night on, as we were sitting there watching the game, and your Brewers were there, and they had a lot of jerseys that had a lot of high numbers on them and no names on the back of them. So, isn't it insulting not to put a player's name on the back of their spring training jersey? Mitch?
Yeah, I think it is a little insulting. I think it doesn't really make sense to me, and it almost seems intentional to insult them. Like, hey, man, you haven't made it yet. Like, you don't get the name on the back of your jersey, even though our equipment manager has the time. They've got all the material. It'd be easy, 10-minute press for them to put on this jersey. Half the time, these guys in spring training that get the spring training invite, but aren't at the major league level yet. If they have their name on the back of the jersey, they have just been created too, and it just doesn't really make sense to me why you don't. It seems to me like it's kind of a I don't know, like a dig almost.
Man, I keep waiting until I know you're getting ready to be done, and then it's like, okay, I need to cough. So I don't know if it's a dig. I don't know if you've seen what Cleveland does. We didn't talk about this last night. I thought I would add it to our talk today. So if you're on the 40-man roster, you get a Stitch jersey at Cleveland. But if you're not on the 40-man roster and you haven't, like you were saying earlier, if you haven't, earned that spot, right, then they give you the iron-on part of the jersey. They just iron your name on the back of it. It's good for people like me who love to do the autographs and stuff like that because I can see him coming and be like, oh wait, that's not a Stitch jersey. That means he's not a 40-man roster guy. But Cleveland kind of does that. What do you think about maybe just doing a cheaper jersey for the guys who haven't quite made it yet? To tell them, no, you haven't made it yet, but we're still going to put your name on the back of a jersey.
Yeah, I'd actually like that a lot more. I could get behind that more than just a number. And honestly, I think it's one thing to say, maybe that's kind of the intermediate of like, hey, you earned a spring training invite. That's not anything to bat your eyes at. You haven't earned a 40-man roster spot yet, but it's still an accomplishment to earn a spring training invite and to be there, fighting to make a roster. So yeah, I really like that. I didn't know that they did that. But I would like to see more teams adopt that.
Yeah, they're the only team that I've seen do it, and I don't know if they're going to do it this year or not. I haven't been to a Guardians. I keep saying Indians. I think I haven't been to a Guardians spring training game yet. We will here in the next few days. So which game we going to? Was it? No, it's not tomorrow. It's the next day, right? Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday will be at Hohokam Stadium for Brewers A's.
Right. So if any of you guys live in the Arizona area and you're like, hey, I want to see those two ugly guys that are on that podcast that I watched like the first hour of, or maybe it's the last hour of now, since we're in the home stretch of this thing, come over and see us. We'll be running around there. We're happy to talk to you. We were making fun of people yesterday because man, some of the talk that happens at a baseball game, some people are just downright stupid, and they should just keep their mouths shut. Uh, so it's kind of fun. It's kind of
Oh
fun.
yeah, oh yeah.
So with the cost of spring training, I'm going to kind of do the cost of spring training and the whole name on the back of your jersey and put this together in this one. So with the cost of spring training, should the visiting team be mandated to bring so many people on the 25-man roster, or so many people off the 40-man roster? It's kind of like load management in the NBA, right? So what do you think? Should MLB mandate something like that, Mitch?
I don't know about a mandate because I think it gets tough when you're talking about injuries and ramping up time and, people recovering from injuries still. I think it gets difficult to kind of police that. But I do think I really like that idea of, hey, if we're going to charge this for tickets and for parking and for concessions, um, one, the fans at least need to know 2 hours before game time who's going to be on the roster. That should be public knowledge. Whenever anybody looks, they should be able to find who's actually going to be playing tonight. And two, it should be somewhat relative to the ticket price. I don't know if you've looked at Dodger pricing this season. It's absolutely insane. And there's been games where they don't play anybody. They might play Mookie or Freddie or Otani, but they're only playing one of them that day. And their ticket prices do not reflect that. So I think that's what needs to be better about it. Mostly, I don't know if you can mandate it, but just more transparency with it, I think, would go a long way.
Well, you could mandate it. I mean, that wouldn't be hard to do, right? You can say that they have to have, you don't have to say that half the team has to be on the 40-man roster. But as you can attest to, yesterday we had, I got all my autograph stuff together. We were standing in back of the dugout up on the concourse level, and we were looking down at your Brewers team, and we're like 89, 96, 107, whatever the numbers were on the back of their jerseys. And there wasn't hardly anyone who I would say is going to be on their 26-man roster at the beginning of the season. Maybe Oliver Dunn, maybe the third baseman, Durbin, right? I believe is his name.
Mm-hmm.
He impressed me last night a little bit, by the way. Not trying to be we talked about this a little too. Hey, Valentine, don't be a homer for your Reds. Why don't you take one of my Brewers and I'll take one of your Reds? So if I'm going to do that, yeah, Durbin impressed me a lot last night, actually. But I didn't have a card for him. I didn't know who he was till last night. Okay. What's your favorite part of spring training, Mitch? Your choices are the player interaction, the autographs, cheaper ticket prices, or watching the prospects. Which one of those is your favorite?
My favorite's the player interaction for sure. The access to players, I think, is what comes down to A and B. I think that's the really cool part. Just being so close to the action and feeling so much more connected. You hear a lot more things that you don't hear throughout the regular season, and you see a lot more things that you don't see. So that's my favorite part of it. I'll toss in a little honorable mention here and say the weather, because man, I love outdoor baseball, and any time that you can be out in the sun and watching this sport, man, it's a good day.
Yeah, I mean, yesterday, like I got an autograph last night, even though it was pretty difficult to try to scoot the card underneath the clamp down wire that they've got now, the netting that everybody has up, it seems like. Um, I will give Goodyear some credit. I was going to bash them on this show, but they do have clips where they kind of roll the netting up and do allow you to get a little better access to the players. So I'm okay with that. But and then and you can attest to this because you were the one that did it, right? There was a crazy call in the game that a lot of us that were sitting in the section were all looking at each other like, well, what in the world was that, right? And then after the game, you were able to be right behind the dugout and shout down at Blake Dunn, the Reds guy who was involved in that play, and you point blank asked him, was you said to him something like, "Was that a balk?" or something like that, and he responded back to you. So I think that's the kind of interaction you're talking about, right? That you wouldn't be able to get during a regular season game.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and I think that's really the cool part. It shows you a lot more personality of the players, and it gives you access to them you wouldn't have otherwise. So yeah,
Right. I mean, he could have ignored you. He could have yelled back at you like "shut up" or whatever, but he didn't. He answered you, and we won't go through the conversation that the two of you had, but it was neat. You guys are able to go back and forth for a second. Pretty slick. So let's talk about this. We got our 4-pitch talk here, MLB 4-pitch talk. Myself, Mike Valentine. That is Mitch Moneybags Middlebrook. We'll get to the batting practice betting line for him here in just a moment towards the end of this segment. Mike Moustakas signed a 1-day contract with the Kansas City Royals earlier, and then he retired a Royal. Do you have a problem with 1-day contracts, Mitch?
No, not at all. I actually the opposite. I like them. I like guys being able to go back to their team that they feel represented their playing career or that they feel most strongly with, and retire with that team. I think that's a really cool piece of the game actually. So I'd go as far as saying the opposite. I actually support them. I think they're pretty cool.
I don't know if I'm going to agree with you here because, I mean, shouldn't there be more loyalty between the player and the team and the player, and you don't have to worry about signing this 1-day contract? And I mean, Mike Moustakas moved on. He was a Red for a while, and I can't really remember if he played for anybody else or not. But yeah, well, yeah, it was Mike Moustakas. I thought for a minute I was like, wait a minute, was it Eric Hosmer and I messed the name up? But no, it was Mike Moustakas.
Yep.
So yeah, if there's a little more loyalty shown between the two, we wouldn't have to worry about these 1-day contracts. What do you think about the loyalty and what it means to baseball between the player and the team?
I think that's a piece of it, but I think there's way too much that goes into all these decisions, and it'd be nice in a perfect world. Yes, it does come down to that loyalty, and it's a fixed problem. But I like the 1-day contracts kind of being there to right that wrong, or just get a happy ending for both sides. No matter what goes on during the career. If Kansas City wasn't willing to pay Mike Moustakas what the Brewers or the Reds or the Rockies were late in his career, he didn't win a World Series with the rest of those teams. And I think it's really cool for him to be able to go back and kind of make that reunion and retire a Royal.
See, that's why everybody loves you. You were able to rattle off all the teams that Mike Moustakas has been on, and I can only remember 2 of them. So, good job by you, buddy. So, yeah, I'm okay with the 1-day contract, I guess, but I would also have to say that I would like to see a little more loyalty between clubs and teams. We were, again, this is something that we talked about a little bit last night. I won't say the team or the player that you had a jersey of, and you told me last night, kind of tongue in cheek, like, I'm never going to buy another jersey with somebody's name on it again because, they might not be with that team next year. So I don't know. It does kind of make a difference to you. You wouldn't have made that comment.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes a difference. I think, it's tough because a lot of times that wound is fresh, and you kind of just gotta give it time to get that reunion. But yeah, we care so much about this game, and we the more we learn about players and people and organizations, the more we care about them. So it definitely, our emotions get brought into it, and it can be easy to sour those relationships, but it is nice, to always kind of end up or have the ability to end up on the decent terms, I'd say.
All right. So let's talk about spring training a little bit more here. What about spring training stats? How much stock do you put in spring training stats?
I think there's kind of a middle ground with how much you have to trust spring training stats, and I think it's
What they call it again?
yeah. I'm not doing that again.
Oh,
I really think it's harder to trust the good stats than it is the bad stats. I think if a guy's struggling through spring training, that really gives you some pause. And you look at that and like, ooh, man, what's stopping him from getting going? What's stopping him from, why is he hitting 125 throughout spring training? Now the guys that are coming out of spring training hitting 500, 575, 400. I don't know if I'm ready to say, oh, they're going to have a breakout season. They're going to be great this year, because there's just so many things that go into spring training. Who they're facing on the mound, where their stats really came from, and I think the only thing that maybe holds a little more weight is when you're really struggling through spring training, especially at the plate. And not to say you can't turn it around, but it gives you some pause to start the season of like, man, is this, how long is this going to take to turn around? Is he going to turn it around? I think definitely is more telling than the actual success in spring training.
today I got this from Chatterbox Sports, that's CBox Sports, at CBox Sports on X. So I'll just read it to you, and you tell me how much stock you want to put in this spring training stat. The Rockies and the Reds played today. The Rockies batted around the lineup in the second inning against Graham Ashcraft, and he was then pulled from the game. Here's Graham Ashcraft's final line: 1.2 innings pitched, 7 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 Ks. That's all you. You can't even give me a Ric Flair one. You can't even woo. You just woof.
Yeah, that's a rough day. That's a rough day, Graham. Get a good night's rest and try again.
Right. That's kind of what made me throw that question in there. So I wanted to see how you were gonna react to that particular one. The next thing I want to do here, if I can get it ready, see if I can. Turn the volume up on this. I think this is going to work. There was a quote from Terry Francona last night at the game we were at. I didn't notice it because of where we walked all over the ballpark last night. We sat in different spots and everything else there. So I didn't notice that there was reporters in the dugout last night. Jim Gray, who was the reporter for the Reds, can't really call him a sideline reporter. It's not football, but the clubhouse reporter or the dugout reporter, however you want to refer to him as. He was in the dugout yesterday during the broadcast, or last night during the broadcast because it was a night game, asking a bunch of questions. And he asked Ellie De La Cruz and Matt McLean who was Batman and who was Robin. Ellie said that McLean was Robin because he was shorter than he was, and he was Batman because he was black. And I was like, oh boy, here we go. But there was a lot of different things asked last night. This was the interaction between Jim Day and Terry Francona. I think I'm going to get this for you here. It won't show a video, but I think you'll be able to hear it. Here was his quote from last night.
Show up, be professional. Our job every day is to try to kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here. Show up, be professional. Our job every day is to try to kick somebody's ass. I mean, that's why we're here.
What do you think about that quote? Show up, be responsible, and then, you heard the rest of it.
Yeah, no, I like it. I like that Terry's bringing that fire back. I think it's a good thing. You like to see that out of your manager for sure.
Excuse me. All right, so we looked at the Terry Frantona quote. Now we're going to let Mitch do his thing. We've talked about the Brewers. We talked about the Reds quite a bit in this particular segment. So, Mitch, the batting practice betting line, who we have yet to get sponsored yet, for those of you who want to, feel free to DM us and we'll take care of that for you. It's not like we're going to ask for the moon or anything. We just want a couple stars. So, batting practice betting line for tonight. Who is going to win the NL Central?
Yeah, we've it's at the top of our minds, I know for sure, with the game last night, and we'll even see the Brewers again this week. But yeah, the NL Central is close to both of our hearts. Definitely the division that we're going to watch the most of pretty much every season. That being the Reds and the Brewers division. It's a tight one, and it's there's no clear favorite. It's one of the few divisions that actually doesn't have a minus throughout the whole division standings, I guess I'll call them. But the way I'll give you the order, and it is to win the division, the NL Central in 2025. It's the Cubs leading the way at plus 125. The Brewers at plus 160, so sizable gap, but nothing too crazy. The Cardinals at plus 600, the Reds at plus 650, and then the Pirates just close behind at plus 700. So all pretty close. This is the closest spread of any division as far as first to last. Most divisions you're seeing that last place being like, for example, the Marlins plus 25,000, the A's plus 3,000, the White Sox plus 25,000. You're seeing these big discrepancies between first and fifth in the division, or I guess the fifth most likely to win the division. But the NL Central is a close group, and I think that speaks to really how competitive this division is, and how hard it is to predict how this division is just going to beat up on each other. I think most people would think, based on the rosters and how much money they've spent, the Cubs should run away with this division, but we've seen in years past that's not the case, and especially last year, the Cubs really laid an egg. So I think it's a really tight division. I think it's going to be a lot of fun this season. I actually think I'm going to surprise you here, and I know we talked about it yesterday, not being homers, and I'm going to do exactly that, because I really think what stands out most to me is that Cincinnati Reds at plus 650 to win this division. I'm not saying I think they're the most likely to. I think it's going to be somewhat of a long shot, but not as crazy as plus 650. I wouldn't go anywhere near touching the Cubs at plus 125. That's just not even close to enough return on it. And the Cubs are known, like I said last year, to just really lay a stinker. And I just don't know if we know what to expect from the Brewers. And I think the Cardinals being plus 600, while the Reds are plus 650, really blew my mind. I would honestly give the Cardinals the least chance to win this division out of any team. So that really, I would stay far away from that. And that, I think, has led me even more to the Reds, because I think they have a pretty good chance for being plus 650 for sure.
All right. Well, I want to make sure that we shout out Ricky Logan last week. Mitch was under the weather. Ricky came on here, did a great job as far as being my plus one on here for the show. Certainly appreciate him doing that. I'm sure he likes what you just said about the Cincinnati Reds and being the plus 650, and that's who you would go with. I don't want to be a homer, so I won't be. Right? But yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think I'd touch anybody else. But the one thing I will say, well, I'll say two things. Number one, your Brewers did do a pretty good job yesterday during that game for the crappy team they had out there.
Yeah. I was impressed. I've a lot of times this season, or this spring training, I should say, I've been impressed with the young guys on this team, and I think it's encouraging. Now, I don't think they're going to be contributing at the major league level this year. A lot of guys that have been doing damage in spring training. But man, I really hope they can keep building on this stuff and getting to where we need them to be, because that's the Brewers' MO. So
And I will also, I'm sorry, but I didn't mean to cut you off, but I'll also say that yesterday, and the Reds can't get picked off at first base like 4 times like they did yesterday in that game either.
Yeah.
So they're not winning. I mean, they won yesterday's game because of their minor league hits coming back at the end, but they're not winning very many games. You get picked off 4 times at first base. Oh, you know what time this is. That means the show's about to wrap up. We'll be putting a bow on this here in just a second, bud. Once again, thank Ricky Logan for being on here last week. I also want to thank our very special guest that we had, Football with Cheese. That is so it's Football Cheese is the @. You want to go to X and follow him there, and going on to YouTube, it is Football with Cheese, and cheese is spelled CHEEZ. Fantastic being with him and having him on the show today. Mitch, you know what, buddy? You did a pretty good job.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I really enjoyed having Cheese on. I want to give another shout out to him. That was a really good show, really knowledgeable guy, and I'm sure we'll have him on again soon before NFL season kicks off. So, yeah, good show, man. Yeah, that was fun. Ready for some more spring training, ready to talk more ball over the next few weeks. But, yeah, thank you too, Mike.
Right, and then I also want to plug Red Hot Red. If you go to our Twitter @D643 and Out Pod, we have a segment up there. It's a short segment that they've done so far, and they are Ricky and Ricky. Ricky Logan and I can't remember the last name of the other gentleman that's with Ricky Logan, but they are doing a Reds only podcast as well. You can check that out. Red Hot Reds. So once again, thanking all those people. Thank Cheese. Thank you, Mitch. Thank everybody that's been on with us. We haven't lost anybody really. We keep gaining. We do keep gaining every week. We're up to almost 6,200 or 6,300 followers on X, and our YouTube keeps growing, and we appreciate each and every one of you who have helped us out. Thank you all very much. Mitch, I'll let you have the floor for another 2 seconds while this plays in the background before we do our thing at the end. What you got for us, man?
Yeah, no, not much. Just really enjoyed spring training. Can't wait for some more games, and yeah, hopefully it is an indicator of a really great baseball season. So I'm excited for more.
Absolutely. And now myself and Mitch will be at Hohokam Stadium this coming Thursday night for the night game there, Brewers and A's. And myself, Mitch, Tony from Ohio. Both of us will be at a lot of the different games here over the next 2 weeks. So if you see my ugly mug somewhere, and you want to drop a thing of knowledge, or if you want to say something like, "Hey, this is what you guys should do on the show," feel free. Put me off to the side and let me know. And I'm sure Mitch feels the same way, right?
Yeah, definitely. Feel free. Follow along on our Twitters too. If we're at a game, we're probably posting a picture or posting a tweet telling people. So follow along, and if you see us at that same game or you're at that game, give us a follow or a tweet, and we'll meet up and sign some autographs for you. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I'm sure everybody wants ours. They might want yours, but they ain't gonna want mine. I don't got nothing to do with nothing. So, all right. Hey, did you hear anything? I meant to ask you earlier in the show. Did you hear anything about Ashby? Because he obviously got hurt at the game we were at last night. Did you hear anything?
I haven't had a chance to look into anything. But yeah, I'm hoping the best for him. That didn't nothing really crazy looked like it happened, but you never know. Those are kind of sometimes the scariest ones. So we'll have to wait and see.
All right, buddy. We certainly appreciate it. We appreciate every one of you that's been with us the entire almost 2 hours now. Thank you all very much. And as always, we end the show with this. The only thing that's fair in life is the baseball hit between the third and first base line. Good evening, everyone.